a priestess. And I said, okay. So I took the leap, I made the investment, she initiated me. And then that was like a 6-month initiation. And then since then, I've set up my own priestess protege program, that's what I call it. And I don't advertise it, I don't market it anywhere.
Yeah.
Women just find me when it's time, when they're ready. And I walk them through the priestess path and I initiate them as priestess and they go off and do this amazing, incredible, divine work.
I mean, that is the most interesting thing I've ever heard of. I didn't even know that that existed.
It's so small. There's like a lineage of priestesses that are starting to like spread out all over the world, and the work that we do collectively is life-changing. It's beautiful.
That is incredible. So, I mean, you're here on Life Masters, so I want to know about your life.
Okay.
So, and I know you have an incredible journey that you've been on. But let's start from the very beginning. Did you know that you were going to end up being the amazing person that you are? I mean, she literally helps people from flat broke to becoming millionaires. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Because you've done it yourself. So let's talk about that. How did this all begin?
How far back should we go? I mean...
Well, what was your childhood like? I mean, where are you from and where are you?
So I'm from Wakefield, which is a tiny town in the north of England. You won't have heard of it.
That's okay. You wouldn't have heard where I'm from either, don't worry.
No. Growing up, I was mad into my dancing and my singing, so I was always a really creative little thing. I was Yorkshire's prima ballerina, so I was invited to dance for the Queen of England when I was like 16, which was amazing. So I thought I was going to be a ballerina. I thought I was going to, grace the stages and do all of that. Didn't happen. I had an accident. I hurt my feet, so I had to stop dancing. So then I got into music and ended up going to university to study music in London, which is how I ended up in London. And being 18, being quite stubborn. Should we say stubborn or ambitious? I'm not sure.
Maybe a mixture of both.
I decided I didn't want a bar job like everybody else in college. You know how you do to fund your way through. I didn't want to do the bar jobs. I didn't want to do the late night gigs. I was like, there's a better way to make money. I'll just set up a company, right? Because that's how other people make money. So I set up a music agency, which basically we provided bands and musicians for weddings and events, because it's a big thing, and we were all in music university, we were all studying musicians. I had all of these musicians at my disposal. I was like, it's a total no-brainer. Let's just set up this company. And so we made a lot of money. And then I was approached after a while by somebody who wanted to invest in a music company. And he said, I really love your music agency. I love the whole vibe. I love that you're all young, you're students, like, you're doing all these events. I want to invest. And I said, there's no like massive earning potential. Like, I can see the limit of this company. It's great for funding me through university, but it's never going to be huge. How do you feel about music education? And he was like, yeah, I'm game. I'm down for that. So he invested in me and I set up an extracurricular music school in London. So basically a music school kids could go to after school and on weekends. And that boomed. That was really, really successful because a lot of kids couldn't go to music lessons during school hours because their parents were like, I don't want you missing sports, or I don't want you missing maths. Like, so that we provided this facility where they could do music lessons outside of.
So you opened up the school, and then how successful did the school become?
Within 3 years, I was earning $250,000 a year. So I was 24.
Okay.
About $250,000.
Oh my goodness, that's a little more than just putting you through college.
Right. Well, at this point, I graduated. So it was like my full-time thing. I loved it. It was amazing. Being 24, having limited business experience, being stubborn, a little bit arrogant, a little bit naive, a little bit like...
And making a lot of money.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what clouded my judgment, right? Because at the time I was like, I've got my shit sorted, like I'm in a really good place. I look back now and it's laughable because I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I fully invested in what I was doing. I was also in a relationship with a guy who was a narcissist. I think that's the best description.
I've been there, I know what that's like. Yep.
And, he was stealing my money and blaming the cleaner, and he was also sleeping with 2 other women in my bed whilst I was at the music school building that business. So he was living with me in my flat that I'd bought for myself. He had no income of his own, he had no real job, he'd just smoke weed all day and sleep with other women in my bed whilst I was at work, and then steal my money from my cash box and blame it on the cleaner. And I thought I was in a really good place. I still thought I had life nailed,
Of course, because you're making all this money, so it's like, I got this down. It's so funny how we put so much, importance on that thinking that if we have that, we got it all.
Yeah,
we're great.
Right. And I was just refusing to look at the shit show that was happening. There was all this shit happening in me emotionally. I was wearing myself out. I was close to burnout, but I was just so committed to, if I'm making $250,000 at 24, that means I am someone. It became my validation. It became, became my life raft, which is crazy. I never needed that validation, but I think
at the time you did, because you didn't know better.
Yeah, right. And I think looking back, being bullied in high school and, you know, all the usual crap that we go through as younger women, that was just haunting me, I guess. So I was finding validation, this idiot.
What were you being bullied in high school for? I mean...
being flat-chested and being too intelligent.
Wow, okay. So even for that one, even being too intelligent, that's crazy.
Being teacher's pet, being top of the class all the time was just a not cool thing.
Look at you now, so...
It paid off.
Right.
Right? It paid off.
So then you start this music business, you're making tons of money, but you're attracting people in your life that obviously are pulling you down. And then what happened after that?
So there came a point in that relationship where I finally came to terms with the fact that he was cheating and that he had been stealing my money, and I actually saw it for what was going on, and I got the courage and I became really brave, and I was like, right, that's it, I'm leaving him. I don't know if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, but you don't. A
short one, but yes.
You don't just leave a narcissist. They will put you through hell. So I left him, and then within 24 hours, I completely lost all that courage and that bravery and went back to him and was like, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I'm, you know, like, come back, we'll work it out. But he's such a talented narcissist. He was like, no, I'm gonna play you for everything. And he played me so hard that I just went into this insane depression. I was so depressed, like I couldn't win him back. My life was just nothing without him. I ended up suicidal.
Wow,
There's a bridge in North London called Suicide Bridge for a reason. And this one particular day, I found myself on Suicide Bridge, ready to jump.
You were ready to jump, like you're at the edge.
I was at the edge. I was literally ready to jump because I thought I couldn't do life without him. And in that moment, because I was so drawn in by his narcissism, the money all of a sudden meant nothing. The business, the money, all of that, I was like, I don't care about that, I just want you. You know what we're like when we're stupid in love?
Oh yeah, I know.
And he was just playing me. He was playing me so hard.
Wow.
And I just thought my life was over without him, so I tried to end my life. And that day on the bridge, there was a guardian angel somewhere, because this police car turned up and they literally, like, physically pulled me off the bridge and put me in the back of this car and took me to the local psych hospital and basically put me in a padded room, committed me. And they were like, you're not going anywhere because you're a danger to your own life. They managed to get hold of my parents, who lived at the other end of the country, so they drove down like 4 hours. My mum came to pick me up. She signed my release paper. She was like, we'll take care of her. She's not going to be in danger. You know, like, we're going to take her back home. So I went back to my family home for a while, a few weeks, and then admitted myself into voluntary therapy. That was the only way they weren't going to keep me in the hospital. I had to go into voluntary therapy to get my head right, because I was fucked. I was a total mess.
Wow.
So then for several months I was going through voluntary therapy, trying to rebuild my confidence, escape from all of this like emotional, psychological abuse that I'd been experiencing for 2 years. And I'd left a team of staff in charge of my music school, because after 3 years, you know, I'd built it up to such a point. We had 12 music teachers, I had a PA, I had a head of music. My head of music, who was basically like the manager of the school, was actually my ex-boyfriend from university. But he'd managed to convince me that we were good friends, that it was going to be fine. He would run the music business for me. I could go off and, you know, go through therapy and get myself together and take my time. I didn't actually think about it at the time, but he was sleeping with my PA, and I was cool with it. I don't know why I was cool with it, because it was a bit of a weird thing to be happening.
Well, he's your ex-boyfriend, so you're like, he's not my boyfriend anymore too, right?
Yeah,
but it's weird though, no matter what, it's weird. It doesn't feel good.
There was too many boundaries being crossed within the company, and I now have a policy in all of my companies that we don't have inter-staff relationships. They're just not allowed, because it crosses too many boundaries, it blurs too many things. But my ex-boyfriend was basically running the school. He was sleeping with my PA, and there was another friend involved who had actually given a job to, because he'd come to me and he said, I'm really, really broke, I'm out of university, like I can't afford to pay my college loan back, I can't get a job, please will you give me a job? And being kind and soft and a little bit foolish, I said, okay, I'll make you a job. So I created a job and a salary and paid him. These three, so the friend, the ex-boyfriend, and my PA, whilst I was away in voluntary therapy, set up a competing music school half a mile away.
Wow.
Swiped my entire client list, 95% of my music students. And when I came back from voluntary therapy, they timed it all perfectly. They knew exactly when I was coming back. They knew exactly what was going on in my life. She was my PA. She ran my diary, she ran my books, she ran my client list, she did my emails, like everything. So they knew everything. They timed it so that when we came back for the autumn term, so that's like fall, I think for you guys, like after the summer break, there would be no students and I'd be coming back to an empty music school.
Why would they do something like that to you though? I mean, I'm sure you put a lot of thought into this.
I have, and I believe the ex-boyfriend was carrying a lot of pain for our separation back in college. I dumped him because I wasn't in love with him anymore, and I think he was harboring a lot of resentment for that and had seen this as an opportunity to get me back. And I think there was also something in them that thought, if Harriet can make $250,000 a year doing this music business lark, then we can do it too. It's got to be easy. We'll just swipe her client list, we'll just take everything and we'll go set up.
Who are these people? Seriously, wow. Where are they now?
Do you know what? That competing music school that they set up, it didn't even survive a year.
Of course.
Mine's still going.
High five! Okay.
Right?
Nice. So you built it back up.
Yeah, so I lost it all. So they swiped it. So I came back from voluntary therapy, like feeling a bit better, but obviously not 100%.
But then look what you walked into.
Walked into
Another disaster.
No students, no parents, no students. 3 of my staff members gone. And I had this, I still have, thankfully, but this beautiful building in London which housed the music school. I had my 9 other staff who I still needed to pay. I had the rent, the rates, the utilities, like all these overheads. They all had to get paid, and I had no money coming in from the students because they'd all gone. So overnight, I went into 60 grand of debt. And then being in the fragile place that I was in and kind of so determined to build myself back up, I was like, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save my music academy. I still was running my music agency, the one that I first set up in college. So I was like, I can make it work. I'll figure it out. I'll just take out a loan to tide me over.
Yeah.
So I think
another loan.
Another loan. So I took out another 100K loan to tide me over, which lasted about a year. And then I think I took out another 100K loan. And I think that one was for investment in self-development. I was realizing at this time that I needed more help, that my therapist was great, but I needed a coach, I needed mindset work, I needed spirituality. I just needed all these things. So I just chucked so much money at rebuilding myself, rebuilding this business. I was desperate. I was so desperate. And I guess I was like, do you know what? I've lost it all already. So if I lose even more,
like, what does it matter at this point?
It really doesn't matter at this point.
That is so stressful. $200,000 in debt. I can't even imagine.
I think I stuck my head in the sand a little bit. I think.
When you had to.
Yeah, I was like, it's sink or swim. And my parents, my friends at the time, who I had very few of, because I think what I'd experienced, having my heart broken and then my business taken away from me, feeling betrayed, feeling financially broken, spiritually broken, emotionally broken, psychologically broken, mentally broken. Like, I was so broken, I couldn't trust anybody. So I had very few friends left because I think I just pushed them all out.
Yeah.
So I was very much doing this solo.
You're in survival mode at this point.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's exactly where I was.
And you're sinking too, so it's tough. Yeah,
fast. I was sinking fast. And my parents, my accountants, my solicitors all said to me, listen, you're in way too deep. You can't get out of this. Go bankrupt, fold the company, go get a corporate job. You're really smart. You got great grades in school. You'll be fine. You're young enough that you can start.
I hate that when people say, "Oh, you'll be fine." It's the worst thing when you're going through a hard time. I know, but anyways.
But they did. They gave me all of this advice. They were like, seriously, just go bankrupt. You cannot get out of this. Nobody can get out of this. It's ridiculous. You've gone in too deep. You've made a mistake. It's fine. You are in a vulnerable position. Like, it's okay. It was quite patronizing. I appreciate it came from a place of love, but it was quite patronizing.
Exactly.
And I think that just made me push even harder. And I was like, fuck, no. I haven't come this far to give up. I'm going to keep going. And I think that, no, it was at that point that I took out the extra 100K loan. So I just went further in after their advice. I went against their advice. There was just something in me. And
it's the people that don't know you well that tell you to go get a car sales job or tell you to go sell life insurance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because they don't know you. There's nothing wrong with those jobs. But if they really know who you are, they'll know that you're an entrepreneur. Look at everything that you're capable of doing that you've done already.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you said it was very patronizing for you.
It was. And I think, look, they meant well. I don't think I really knew who I was. I think all of this happened for a reason. I'm a huge believer in that. That shit show that literally evolved over the space of a few years pushed me onto the path that got